Hi, I'm Brian Malow, and we're at the 75th Annual Lindau Nobel Laureate Meeting. This year we have 70 Nobel Laureates and 600 young scientists from nearly 90 countries. I'm talking to Nishta Krishnan, and she's from UC San Diego, an American, and a chemical engineer.
Yes.
Well, what exactly do you study?
So I am from the Department of Chemical and Nanoengineering, which means I work on anything super tiny. Specifically, I develop biomimetic nanoparticles for drug delivery and immunology. Biomimetic.
Mimetic. Say the phrase again. Biomimetic.
Nanoparticles.
Nanoparticles.
For drug delivery and immunotherapy applications.
So what does biomimetic mean?
Yeah, so basically, your body has a lot of processes of its own, and we want to try to mimic some of them and kind of leverage it for what we do.
Oh, this is biomimicry that
yes,
we were just discussing.
We were just talking about it, yeah. So I want to make biomimimetic nanoparticles, so tiny things that we can put into the body and kind of modulate different parts, treatments, vaccinations, applications like that.
What is special about what kind of behavior could these kind of nanomaterials do that traditional previous types can do? What is special about their abilities, I guess?
I'm really excited to talk about that. And for that, I do want to introduce a little bit about what my specific platform is. So I work on cell membrane coating nanotechnology. So the idea is everybody has cells, the world has cells, and the cells talk to each other based on a lot of what's on the surface of the cell, so the cell membrane. So they have a lot of important markers, antigens, receptors that they use to talk to each other. We basically want to take the outer membrane of the cells, the cell membrane, and coat it onto nanoparticles, and then we give these nanoparticles the same functionalities of the source cells. So an example is red blood cell membrane coated nanoparticles. So red blood cells, they're really important to the body. They're important for carrying oxygen throughout the body. But because of that, they have to circulate a long time in your body, right? They have to be there a while. So if we take the membrane of the red blood cells, this membrane has a lot of proteins that are really important for helping the cells circulate through your body. And we take that membrane, just the outer layer, and coat it onto our nanoparticles.
What do you mean coat it onto?
Yeah, so we basically just put a layer on top of, we have our core nanoparticle, and then we coat them. We have a layer around it, and then now our nanoparticles can circulate through the body a lot longer as well.
Okay. So, good science communication.
Thank you. I love science communication. I believe that that's probably the cornerstone of a lot of what we work on, making sure that we can understand it, everyone can understand it, that the entire world, both scientific and non-scientific, can really be a big part of that.
Well, tell me about that part. Do you think, is there anything you wish that the public better understood about science?
I think a lot of it, understand what scientists do, what they're trying to do, the struggles of it. And I think scientists themselves also need to make accessible content because we're so excited about the technicalities of our work. I would love to tell you in detail each molecule that I study, each thing I've engineered, but I can only get to that point once we know the general idea. So just making sure everyone's on the same page and really working together. It's a team effort. So I'd love for everyone to be able to explain their work for a general audience and basically dive in. So if anyone had more questions for me, I would be more than thrilled to talk about it, to give you more details. But start at the top and we'll work our way down.
And you think it's important for the public to understand some of this?
I do. I think the more we understand, the more accepting we can be, the more open we can be, the more differing opinions, so different science opinions, just general, any misunderstandings we can work on. For me, I've been trained as a chemical engineer and nano engineer, but I dabble in biology, immunology, but there's so much I don't know and so much I need to learn, which is amazing for this interdisciplinary Lindau meeting, because there's just so much I don't know, but so many opportunities. But I can only kind of delve and bridge my research by understanding the basics first.
Yeah, thanks for bringing up that point. And since this is an extremely interdisciplinary meeting with physicists and chemists and medical physiology and even economists, is there something, tell me how that, are you getting something out of this meeting from people in fields unrelated to yours?
Absolutely. I'm having the best time going to different fields. Growing up, I wanted to be an astronaut. And so there's a ton of work on astrophysics and astronomy and people talking about that. So just as a side project, there's a ton of curiosity. But there's also a lot of work on physics and quantum physics. as a chemical nanoengineer, I have a very baseline understanding, but there's so much more out there, and I've been able to like kind of get back in touch with that, learn more, learn where the field is, but also kind of understand, even on a molecular level, a little bit more about my own work from a different perspective, or have more questions about how like my work can progress further. So I think this is kind of like opening my worldview, opening my scientific worldview, like kind of breaking out of this silo. Like already my work is super interdisciplinary, right? I want to do chemistry, biology, immunology, anything. But this is just like, you can see even more facets of it by hearing what other people are working on.
I can tell you're very enthusiastic about your science and science in general, and quite a broad love of science. And what is it that you like so much about science, or your science specifically? What really hooked you in and fascinates you and gets you to get up in the morning and go to the lab?
Okay, so I think there's a lot in there.
Yes.
I think from a young age, I have a very logical, like analytical mind. I think I like to understand where things come from, where they're going next. I think I take this approach in making any decisions, career, personal decisions. I want to kind of think through all the logics, think through the options, and basically this is just a playground. I get to do that even more. I get to think about like what I'm making, how that'll interact, and that's one of the things I love about my work, is that I get to see like the full spectrum. I get to work on the polymer chemistry, make a new nanoparticle, take the biology, how does this cell interact? And then see, how can I combine that to this platform? And then I can see, how does it work in the body? Like, what is it doing immunologically? How does it work? So it's like, I get to answer pretty much every question and like really delve into each part of it. And there's nothing better than that, because it basically gets to just keep asking questions and keep looking for the answers.
Okay, let's talk about the meeting. Here we are at the 75th Lindau Nobel Laureate Meeting, and we're about almost halfway through the meeting, almost. But before you even got here, tell me what it was like to get accepted and to find out you were going to come, and what kind of feelings were you having before you came? Anticipations, hopes, or...
Okay.
Yeah.
Super excited. Like the first time I saw that email, I remember I was in the middle of a project meeting and I was like, oh my God, I like sat up straight. And then I had to be like, my lab mates were like, oh, what's going on? And I'm like, guys, I'm going to meet Nobel laureates. Like I'm going to go there. So instant amazement. I think as I thought about it more and got closer to the meeting, it was like, of course, about the laureates and all their amazing knowledge, their words of wisdom, like their journey, their science. Of course, going in, I like the ones I work in the fields I work in, I know their science and I'm excited to hear their stories, but also like their words of wisdom, what they've worked on, the interdisciplinary side of it. I already mentioned like my work itself spans a lot of fields, but what more is there out there? How more can we span? What are they working on? Just kind of a chance to like geek out about everything, what I do know, what I don't know. And then of course, the other young scientists, I was like excited for it, but coming here, that's been such an integral part of it. Just meeting, talking to them, seeing like similarities, differences, learning about just different things that I hadn't even considered. So I think the chance to like talk about such interdisciplinary work, it's like different than any other conference I've been to, because a lot of conferences are kind of specialized in their field, but here, like, I'm meeting astrophysicists, I'm meeting a bunch of AI experts, which is cool because a lot of fields are moving in that direction. But just so many different fields that I wouldn't get a chance to interact on such a high level with. These experts are all around me, and it's just a really great chance to work with.
Were there any Nobel laureates you particularly wanted to meet?
Yes, I was super excited to meet Katalin, Karikó and Shimon Sakaguchi. Both have been fantastic. Their talks and talking with them in person has been just amazing. They're both so inspiring. I went to also Katalin Karikó's Nobel Hour, and just her excitement and just her journey. I think a lot of what she said, so a big message of hers is don't stress, focus on what you're excited about, and the rest just kind of fall into place. A previous mentor of mine had given me similar advice, and that really stuck with me, and it just kind of really resonated with me, and it's something that I feel like can just, beyond just work, it's something that can really like help guide your life. Like things will happen, some things you can do about it, and when you can do about it, take that opportunity. But sometimes things just are out of your control, and that can be okay too.
Yeah.
And you know, your path can change. Your path can be what it will be. But there's multiple ways to get where you want to go, and maybe you end up somewhere where you didn't intend, but that's just as awesome, and you're meant to be there anyways. So,
You mentioned that you went to Caroline's Nobel Hour.
Yes.
There's all sorts of sessions and activities here, different types of sessions. And can you explain what the Nobel Hour is?
Yeah, so the Nobel Hour is more of an informal discussion. Basically, folks just gather in a room with a Nobel laureate and just ask any question that comes to mind. A lot of folks are asking scientific questions, of course, but also a lot of personal questions like how to navigate the changing research environment, the changing political scene, just like how to navigate science, balance work life, deal with stress, basically anything that comes to mind. And all the laureates are so excited to share their personal journeys. And then you kind of realize that, of course, they're amazing scientists, but they're also people, and they've been in our shoes where we are now. And so that's really exciting to see as well.
And she, in particular, overcame a lot of challenges to get where she is. So her talks were very funny, but also inspirational.
Very much, yeah.
And one of the distinctive things about those Nobel Hours is no one else is allowed in the room. Like journalists and other guests sort of have an opportunity to sit in on lots of lectures and panel discussions. But the Nobel Hours, it's a Nobel laureate and young scientists, and no one else is allowed in the room, so you can ask any kind of question and speak comfortably.
Yeah, and it's just an amazing opportunity. Yeah.
And any other kind of highlights you've already had?
Oh gosh, I think Oh, that's a tough question. I might need to think about that for a second.
Made any new friends?
Definitely.
Possible future collaborators, even?
I think so. It's been really cool hearing about these other works. I met somebody who used to work at my institution for their postdoc and is now a PI in another university, and learned about a technology that potentially could be used for a challenge that I'm working on, which could be cool. I met a bunch of people within my school system who I've never met before, but also outside of that. And it's just, definitely a lot of new ideas, and definitely a lot of people who I think I would love to keep in touch with. Yeah.
So if someone is out there who might be a young scientist or a future young scientist, and what would you tell them? What is the Lindau Nobel Laureate Meeting, and should they come? What would you tell them about it?
Okay, so the should they come part is the easiest. Yes, definitely apply if you can come. As dramatic as this might sound, I feel like the way I approach challenges in science has just been reaffirmed. It's there's journeys, but I think hearing them all speak is very inspiring. And being in the room, it's something different. There's all of these talks are also available online, so if you're interested, definitely check them out. I can definitely say some of the sessions overlap, so I haven't been able to go to a couple of them. But I watch them online, and there are some that I'm probably going to rewatch again at some point. So definitely apply. It's worth it. Especially this interdisciplinary meeting, you just learn so much of what's outside this little silo that we inherently build for ourselves, being in research and really specializing as a part of a PhD program. A lot of times you kind of have your wheelhouse and it expands a little bit, but a lot of times ideas come just outside our comfort zones or maybe across, and this is just a fantastic way to see what's out there and really build those connections.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And what Nishta was saying is the videos from every year of the conference, there are extensive archives in the Mediatek at lindaunobel.org. So thanks for taking the time to talk to me. And we will be back with more interviews with some of the 600 young scientists at the 75th Lindau Nobel Laureate Meeting.